Ever heard of a doll so cursed that thousands of people have written it apology letters? Well, meet Robert, the world's most haunted doll. His story is so chilling, it makes the movies look like child's play. In fact, he's the real-life inspiration behind the infamous Chucky. But Robert's story isn't fiction. It's a century-long tale of paranormal activity that continues to this day. And if you ever meet him, there are rules you must follow, or you might just end up writing one of those apology letters yourself. So, turn down the lights and lock your doors, because we're about to dive into the terrifying true story of Robert the Doll. Our story begins over 100 years ago. Around 1904, in Key West, Florida, a young boy named Robert Eugene Otto, who everyone called Gene, was given a very unique doll. This wasn't some mass-produced toy. It was a one-of-a-kind creation from the Steiff Company in Germany, the same company that invented the teddy bear. The doll was nearly life-sized for a child, standing at 40 inches tall, stuffed with wood wool, and dressed in a little sailor suit. Now, how Gene got this doll is where the story takes its first dark turn. The most popular legend says the doll was a gift, but not a friendly one. It was given to Gene by a servant of the Otto family, who was allegedly skilled in voodoo. The story goes that she was mistreated by the family and cursed the doll as an act of revenge before giving it to their son. Gene immediately became inseparable from his new companion. He even gave the doll his own first name, Robert. From that point on, everyone had to call the boy Gene, because Robert was the doll's name. Gene treated Robert not as a toy, but as a living, breathing friend. He'd have long conversations with him, take him everywhere, and even dressed him in his own childhood clothes. That sailor suit Robert wears today, that was actually Gene's. But soon, the bond between the boy and his doll started to seem less like a friendship and more like something sinister. Strange things began to happen around the Otto house, and a simple phrase would soon echo through its halls. Robert did it. Whenever a toy was found broken, or furniture was mysteriously overturned, young Gene would always have the same excuse for his parents. I didn't do it. Robert did it. At first, they dismissed it as a child's active imagination, a way to avoid getting into trouble. But the strange occurrences became more frequent and more disturbing. Gene's parents would often overhear him talking to the doll in his bedroom. They'd hear Gene's high-pitched voice, but then they'd hear a second, completely different voice respond. It was a low, guttural tone, one that was impossible for a young boy to create. They started to wonder if their son was truly alone in his room. The creepiness wasn't just confined to the house. Neighbors of the Otto family started reporting bizarre sightings. When the family was out, they claimed to see the small figure of Robert the doll moving from window to window, watching them. It was as if he was a silent guardian of the house, or perhaps its prisoner. As Gene grew up, you'd think his attachment to Robert would fade, but it didn't. He went off to study art in Paris and got married, but Robert was never far from his thoughts. When his parents passed away, Gene and his wife Anne moved back into the family home, now known as the Artist House. And of course, Robert came with them. Gene designated a special room for Robert in the house's turret, complete with his own furniture. He would spend hours up there alone, painting with Robert by his side. This obsession deeply unsettled Gene's wife. She hated the doll. She said its beady black eyes seemed to follow her everywhere, filled with a malevolent intelligence. She insisted that Robert be locked away in the attic, and Gene reluctantly agreed. But even from the attic, the strange activity didn't stop. Guests and workmen in the house reported hearing footsteps and giggling coming from the floor above, even when the attic was supposed to be empty. After Gene passed away in 1974, the house was sold to a new family. The little girl of that family was thrilled to find Robert the doll in the attic, but her excitement didn't last long. She soon began screaming in the middle of the night, claiming that the doll was alive and that it had tried to hurt her. She told her parents, over and over, that Robert would move around her room on his own. After years of terror, Robert finally left the artist's house for good. Today, Robert the doll resides at the Fort East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida. But this is no peaceful retirement. He's one of the museum's most popular and feared exhibits. He sits propped up in a large glass case, holding a small stuffed lion, looking out at the thousands of visitors who come to see him each year. But it's what surrounds his case that's truly unnerving. The walls are covered, floor to ceiling, with letters. Hundreds and hundreds of them. These aren't fan letters. They're apology letters. They come from people all over the world who visited Robert and believe they were cursed for disrespecting him. The letters detail stories of sudden job losses, unexplained car accidents, broken relationships, financial ruin, and unexpected illnesses, all happening shortly after their visit. They plead with Robert for forgiveness, begging him to lift the curse that has fallen upon them. This brings us to the rules. If you ever decide to visit Robert, there is a strict protocol that staff and believers say you must follow to avoid his wrath. First, you must introduce yourself and ask for his permission before taking a photo or video. And you can't just think it. You have to say it out loud, politely. Something like, "Hello Robert, my name is so-and-so. May I please take your picture?" Some people claim you need to wait for a sign of his approval, like a subtle nod of his head. Others say if you feel a sudden cold chill or a sense of dread, that's his way of saying no, and you should put your camera away immediately. After you've taken your picture, if you were given permission, you must thank him. Again, out loud, and most importantly, never, ever mock him. Don't call him just a doll or make fun of his appearance. According to the legends and the letters on the wall, that's the fastest way to get on his bad side. The consequences for breaking these rules are said to be swift and severe. One of the most common reported phenomena involves technology. Visitors who snap a photo without asking permission often find that their cameras mysteriously malfunction. The picture might come out blurry, distorted, or completely black. Sometimes the device's battery will drain instantly, only to work perfectly fine again once they've left the museum. Then there are the more serious claims. An unusually high number of visitors have reported getting into car accidents, sometimes just minutes after leaving the museum grounds, after they were overheard making fun of the doll. These aren't just fender benders. Some stories involve serious crashes and injuries. And then there are the personal misfortunes that fill the apology letters. See den health problems, broken bones from unexpected falls, job firings, and even messy divorces, all blamed on a brief moment of disrespect toward a 100-year-old doll in a glass case. It's no surprise that a story this terrifying has had a massive impact on pop culture. Robert the Doll is widely considered to be the direct inspiration for Chucky from the Child's Play horror movie franchise. While the movie's doll has a different backstory and appearance, the core concept of a little boy blaming his doll for horrific acts comes directly from the childhood of Gene Otto and his infamous phrase, "Robert did it." And the original Otto family home, the Artist House on Eaton Street in Key West, is now a popular bed and breakfast. It's a huge tourist attraction for ghost hunters and fans of the paranormal. Guests can even book a stay in the turret room, the very room where Gene kept Robert for decades. To this day, people who stay there report hearing disembodied footsteps, mysterious giggling, and the feeling of being watched at night. So, is Robert the Doll truly cursed? Is he inhabited by a vengeful spirit? Or is it all just a combination of coincidence and the power of suggestion, fueled by a century of spooky stories? The museum staff themselves don't make any official claims. They simply present the doll, the stories, and the hundreds of letters, and let visitors decide for themselves. But for the thousands who have written to him, begging for forgiveness, the curse is all too real. Whether you believe it or not, one thing is for certain: Robert the Doll has left a mark on everyone who has crossed his path. He is a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying things come in the most innocent-looking packages. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into the paranormal, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next spooky story. Stay safe out there.